Cooperman. I'm the CEO of SCW Fitness Education. We have a wonderful new registration coordinator, Gabriella. She was helping with everything. And we've got fantastic four presenters that are joining us today. We've got Sheldon McBee. Sheldon and I have been friends for, I'm not going to say how many years. Um, and the best thing is I love his wife's name, Sarah. So it works
Yep.
pretty well for us. He's got a master's in human nutrition. He's also the executive director of the Universal Athletic Club, a well-beats content creator. He's got 20 years experience in the fitness industry. He's presented at multiple Mania conventions, and I met him through Les Mills when he was their director of education, I believe. And speaking of Les Mills, we have Emma Berry with us, who is the CEO and founder of Trouble Global. I love it. There's very few people who could pull that off with as much finesse. And she was a Les Mills International founding member and a former Equinox director. She's a sought after speaker worldwide, and she's the author of Building a Badass Boutique. And so we welcome Emma. We're very glad to have her here. Mo Hagan, great story. Sorry, Mo, I have to share this. Mo and I and a couple other girls, Trisha Madden, they bugged out on us. We wanted to go see Taylor Swift. I'd already seen her. I'm a Swiftie. I wear pink and I spandex and I carry a bracelet. I'm not afraid to say it. And we were all going to go. And then everybody bugged out one at a time. And Mo and I were the only two left. And we just said, oh, well, you know what Mo did? She went without me. I love this woman. Okay, Mo is an international award-winning Fit Pro. She's recognized as Canada's top 10 women of power, top 100 health influencers. She's the chief operating officer of Canada's leading fitness education authority, which is CanFit Pro. We love Mo Hagan. Now, although Trisha bugged out and is not a committed Swiftie, she's got heart. She is the CEO and the co-owner of Fit Pro Programming. Love it, formerly Xavier. She's a 30-year veteran of the fitness industry, although she doesn't even look like she's a 13-year veteran of the fitness industry. She's won Fitness Leader of the Year award by IDEA. She's been a multiple workouts. She's been a director for Amazon Halo. Incredible. We've got an incredible panel. I'm just going to dive right in. Trisha, I started with you before we turned the camera on about new workout trends and what you see, because Fit Pro Programming has their finger on the pulse. So please share with us what you're seeing.
Thank you, Sarah. It was a very nice introduction. We'll all walk away with bigger heads for sure. I am a Swiftie and I took my 13-year-old and, spent all my money there. Anyway, I digress. To me, what's happened in the past year is really fascinating. There's been a sort of this collision of technology and in-person popularity that is the best of both worlds, right? We're seeing things like Pilates in-person classes skyrocket. I mean, I can't get into the 4:30 class I like to take once a week. And I also see that the wearable augmented reality VR wearables are selling faster and faster and faster and growing with that as well. So to see a time in our industry where we both are seeing growth of in-person attendance and engagement, we're going to talk later about a big trend as well, but to see things come together at the same time, I think that's a really magical moment. And I think it's the people who kind of understand the value of both types of growth. They are the ones that do the best. So the health clubs are the instructors that can both participate in the growth of what's happening in the VR world, and in Pilates and active aging, we're killing it. You're mute. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. The dog was barking. You do, with Fit Pro Programming, I like hunted you down like a dog to get you to do the human reformer, because Pilates is enormous, and you said that. Can you tell us how your programming is going and what you're also seeing between cycle and bar and things like that?
I mean, I think in the category of group fitness, human reformer, which is our version of taking the reformer to the mat, and saving the expense of the reformer for everyday health clubs and studios, that I can't book enough. Like it's a one of those insane things where I think we had 400 people in a virtual training this past year. That you can't we cannot do enough in the Pilates category, because remember, it works for all generations. It's popular for 16-year-olds, and it's popular for 80-year-olds alike. So we can't put enough of that on the schedule. Athletic aging is such an interesting category right now. What we woke up to at the end of the pandemic was the idea that there is a whole lot of people that grew up in fitness, in group fitness, that are 45 plus, but aren't going to stop doing Tabata and are now ready for chair. They're ready, they're athletic, they're excitable, but they're also focused on different things than they were when they were 35 and 25. So that category for us, that our certification is called Everflex. There's other certifications out there for people to take, is doing incredibly well. The other big thing that we launched this year, and I feel like our timing was a little bit kismet, in that it's called Swerve Training. It's a really popular digital platform out of New York City. It was a studio space. And what we took from them is that, look, they found the best of what a Soul Cycle or a Flywheel or these like high-end studio experiences provided. And we said, but then we're going to take the legitimacy of what road riding and what some of our, over the 20 years we've learned we don't do on bikes, and blended the two. And so what we did is we worked with the team at Swerve and created the education so that now instructors that are struggling with filling that cycling room, because they're not, one or the other, they need to figure out how to find their way to both being entertaining and also being athletic, and bringing that also personality injuries in energy. So that program has done really well for us.
Oh, that's cool. And
Yeah.
Mo, we were talking, I always love when you do the CanFit Pro, um, the top 10 fitness, health, and wellness trends. You do that evaluation. How many people did you do in that survey? How many people contributed?
We didn't have as many as the year before, because we find that we made it longer to gather more details around the diversity of our trends. So we wanted to ask more. So that was one of our learning lessons. But we had a significant number to gather our results. It
Like
was
how
about
many? How many
15.
thousands?
Well, we sent it out to thousands. The people that took the time to answer it was around 1,500.
Hmm.
Normally we get well over 2,000, but I do notice that, one, timing is everything. That was a little bit off for us this year due to reasons out of our control. But two, I'm finding the different generations don't want to spend that time. So we have learned something that we're going to uh, gather more input as far as what's changing, what's emerging, what's dropping, what's increasing throughout the year.
Uh-huh.
But we did have enough to make it significant, according to our researchers, to get a really good lay of the land as far as what is emerging amongst the trends.
Do you
And
mind if I throw the trends report on and you tell us?
oh, sure. I'll just
Okay.
highlight for everyone, because you can certainly receive it. It's available in the chat. You can also go to camfitpro.com and get a full report. It's our January feature magazine. So it's 18 pages that go into the detail around these. But
But this is
more.
interesting, the trends. It's,
Mhm.
Trisha was talking about active aging, and there it is, number one. And 1,500 people. Do you know that your research almost matches with
That'd be,
ACSM?
I know.
ACSM reaches about 3,000 people. We reach about 3,000 people, and
Yep.
you're getting more. I've seen studies out there with 100 people. You have 1,500 responses. That's awesome.
And we also found that was our trend last year, but it is continuing to remain number one, as is functional fitness. And there's a reason for that, for the purpose of active or athletic aging. I agree with you, Eves. That's a great name, Trisha. And we also found that integrating mental health practices and technology and exercise into training. We're noticing that a lot more, both in personal training and group, really bringing the mental health components and the practices that go with supporting
Yeah, it's
mental well-being.
interesting because you show that in number 3 and you show it again in number 8, mind body
Correct.
fitness.
Well, one was specifically around the area of fitness to complement the physical practice, but the other was specifically where programming landed, which was number 8 for mind body, Pilates being the number 1 area of growth. And we're not only seeing it as a standalone, but integrated into everything: hot yoga, stretching, core classes, back classes. So it's just becoming, really accessible for all. And the other one I want to bring to everyone's attention that's really important to notice, because that's where we're seeing the biggest growth. It was the biggest number of points of growth this year over last year, and the year before was the recovery and regeneration. Whether it's in investing in equipment, studios, or just bringing recovery exercise such as fascial release into a stretch class or yoga class. But that was, I would say, the biggest, and you'll see that if you read the full report. But that is certainly a big area that is going to continue to emerge this year for all the reasons that are defined by its name alone.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Uh, Emma, what do you see going on? Not just in the USA, but internationally? Because before we turn the camera on, they're like, high rocks, high rocks. I'm like, what the heck? So I'm Googling, and then I chat GPT'd it, and then Sheldon chimed in, they're running it at Universal. And I'm like, well, I'm a moron running a webinar. So please tell us about what you're
Yeah, but
seeing.
you live in the Midwest, so
Oh, chill,
you're looking
chill.
at, yeah. So hi everyone. So I come from a slightly different perspective, so I get to watch the trends unravel around the world. So we were just saying before that often they'll start on the coasts of America, not always, but often, and then they'll kind of go to London, then they'll go to Amsterdam, Germany, then they'll kind of go everywhere else. So they're just getting Pilates in Central Europe now, by way of example. We've all had Club Pilates, we've had lots of Pilates around for a while now. So it does tend to go on a 5 to 7 year cycle. And so I do follow these trends, and not all of them transfer, but many of them do. So look, of course, we're seeing Pilates, strength, recovery is the new black. I live in Los Angeles, so it's very, we're influenced by what the athletes and the athletes do and the actors do. So at some point there has to be, that's what tips a trend often, is that you'll get famous people at the very high end of performance, but also at the very high end of influencing. So lots of eyeballs on stuff, because let's face it, Pilates has been around since the early 1920s. It's not new, but we had COVID. People wanted to come back to big, sexy pieces of equipment, squat racks, reformers, hip thrusters. So there's been this love of those sorts of programs. So we're seeing a big influx of that. High rocks, as I mentioned, so I was in London recently, and my daughters said, why is everyone running? And I went, they must have a high rocks event coming up. And everyone's like, what's high rocks? So organized group exercise, and Sheldon can give some great examples because they've brought it into their club, but people will run a bit, do an exercise, run a bit, organized, rate with their races, but they don't have to be competitive. Yes, you can be the best in the world, or you can have your auntie and your mother and your cousin and your boyfriend and all of the things, and it's a no judgment zone, and it's really captured the hearts and minds of people to do real work, but at your pace. So he'll pick up a little bit on the operational sides of that. I also see, bunda, booty workouts, like very strong, sort of an extension of strength, but probably driven by the Kardashians or whoever drives that. Another great concept is an extension, and where I believe that the recovery space will go. My new favorite brand is Othership. So if you're in New York or Toronto, so Canadian born, this brand. So it brings together contrast therapy, so hot and cold, and breath work, and entertainment. So there's a touch of Cirque du Soleil in there as well. So if you ever get to go through, I went through with 40 of my best friends. We sat in a huge big sauna. It was immaculately coached. I'm not just talking about 3 more, 2 more, 1 more. I'm talking about someone who could hold court and take you through an experience, one of the best meditative, energetic, whatever experience. And they have I think he has about 28 different classes. So he went around the world, went to all the breath work, went to all the bathhouses, learned from Japan, learned from Europe, brought it all into one experience. So I think we're now going to step beyond, I just sit on a red light therapy and do something, into something much more holistic. So those are some of the things I'm seeing.
And Emma, repeat again, what was the name of the last program you were talking about?
Other ship.
Other Ship. And Mo,
Other
you're
Ship.
nodding. Have you've seen it? It came out of Canada.
Toronto.
Yeah, it's out of Toronto, and Emma described it brilliantly, and it's really fascinating how they have brought many different practices together. But yes, Canadian born, and I'm sure it will continue to expand.
Yeah, cool. All right. Now, Sheldon, can you share with us how Universal is doing the High Rocks program that Emma was chatting about?
Yeah, so so what's up, everybody? I'm coming from the perspective of a club operator, obviously, and we went with High Rocks for one specific reason. Earlier, before we started this, I was explaining to the other moderate panelists here that we went on a muscle-centric focus for 2025. We want people understanding it's good to lift weights, be strong, and all the benefits of that. We studied our group fitness schedule and said, how do we dial that up and create a more authentic, raw experience where you can lift, run, and do more like athletic type things? And we actually ran into DECA at first, which is the Reebok branded program. We since said, you know what, we went a different direction only for a whole other reasons, but we settled in on High Rocks. We put the High Rocks in our group fitness programming. So it is actually part of your membership. You can consider us a higher end health club. You do pay more per month for our facility. Doing things like small group training, personal training is on top of membership. This is included. And those are the most packed classes on our schedule by far. We did have to commit to space. We did have to commit to the equipment, but it packs the room. We also do an event once a quarter, and we use that as an acquisition tool. So you pay a certain amount to go to the event. Everyone in the community is invited. We can get people from all over central Pennsylvania who are at other affiliate facilities to come to our facility and bring their friends. And that is a great way for people to walk into our doors and experience it. Yeah, we could have charged extra for it to have that, but we chose not to because we wanted to put more authentic experiences on group fitness, and it is an absolute win. So if you're looking at group fitness, one thing to consider are programs that tick the box of athleticism. That is something that all age groups are really seeking right now. We were shocked at the variety of demographic that was interested in that kind of an experience. I mean, from 80s to the early 20s are taking this class for sure.
And what are the
Sheldon,
other
you mentioned
strength-based
50.
what are the other strength-based classes that you're offering? Can you share their
Yeah.
names and what's really been drawing people to them?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different areas that we do strength-based stuff as part of membership. One is we got the e-gym circuit in the facility. So that's not necessarily group fitness, but it's sort of a AI-like experience where the machine will know your strength, know your body size, and will put you on specific programs for 24 workouts in a row and adjust with you in real time every workout you do. It's all strength-based. We just brought on the Les Mills Strength Development Program and Functional Strength. We put that on the schedule as part of a limited edition series that comes on and off every 3 months with progressive based programming so that our members can actually truly lift. That did require some education. You know, a lot of our folks were used to, body pump. They put a little bit of weight on the bar and do 1,000,000 reps of workout. And to educate our members took some work, but when they got it and it clicked, it brought new faces into the group exercise room who weren't willing to try it before. We also do what are called mini workouts with our personal trainers who will do micro 15 and 20-minute resistance-based workouts on our main floors and our functional training area to just get them used to the idea of lifting with a certified trainer. This is all part of your membership. So those are probably the big three at the moment that really dialed up our strength, including some High Rocks.
Interesting. I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh, no point. No problem. I just wanted to make the point that I think in the last race, after the last race, Sheldon, you converted something like 50 people or something. Like it was a massive acquisition as well, right?
We did. Yeah, we had over 50 people who signed up for the last big event. Out of those who converted, I don't know off the top of my head, but either way, it's amazing to see all these new faces in the facility checking out our club who never would have done that otherwise. It's a brilliant acquisition tool.
And I love what you said. I'm going to share with you guys. This is raw data. Raw data. We at every single Mania conventions we do our surveys at the end of the convention, and Mo, we're very lucky. We asked 28 questions, but it's so quick and easy for people to answer that we get almost 3,000 evaluations in last year. And I'm going to share with you guys. Here's what we do with our Survey Monkey, and you can see we match CanFit Pro. It's kind of cool. Our active aging, 63% of them answered that active aging, what topic interests you most? Please check all that apply. So active aging was up there at 63%, functional training, 57%, 56% group fitness, 55% strength training, exercise science, 47%. Core training is still big, nutrition, 44%, personal training, mental health. And remember, before I turned the camera on, I was like, where's Pilates? Where's Pilates? Well, you have to go down. There's our recovery. There's our foam rolling. There's our yoga, new choreography, sculpting and training. Here's Pilates. We're still getting 27%. And it's huge. And that's that human reformer that was going on Trisha. Emma, like, the 1990s, Pilates is coming back. And we see brain power. We do see chair workouts and meditation and mind body. Bar workouts are still there. What we find fascinating with SCW is it's not so much just what classes they're taking now. It's what certifications they're turning to. And we're certifying a lot of people in personal training still. It's still huge. Mobility training. There's a wonderful program called Mobility Recipe. Daniela, would you throw that in the chat for me, please? The Mobility Recipe site. And that's getting a huge attendance and attention. And we're finding that a lot of people want to analyze and look at strength training various body parts. So the certifications that tend to grow for us, meditation, we're offering meditation certifications in our certification smash. We're getting Tai Chi is coming back pretty strong as well with the mind body. But I love hearing about this High Rocks. Scares me because I can't run anymore. I was a big runner and it's not working the way I wish it did. I'm going to ask you guys this. I'm jumping around a little bit, but you know me, it's whatever I get interested in. I'm like a little ADD on this. I think about what is going on with certifications, because certifications, I hear from the major certification organizations, it's severely declining. But I see specialty programs coming back very strongly. And Tricia, you're nodding, and I'm going to pick on you, girlfriend. What do you see what's happening? Two things, okay? Certifications, which emphasize our fitness professionals, and the other end of it with what's going on with our like Instagram influencers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea that you're asking this question is so important. One of the things that happens in the specialty certification category is that a lot of us in the specialty category have a tendency to say to an instructor or a trainer or a coach, I want you to put blinders on. This is our system. This is what we do. You don't need to understand the why. You don't need to understand the how or the research. Just copy what we're doing. And I think that actually does an incredible disservice to the long-term growth of that individual and how they move through their, if you only teach bar, if I tell you to teach our bar program and you only teach bar and you don't get your ACE certification, your way to get up, pay more, learn more, teach more is really, it's almost like there's a glass ceiling above your head. What I think is happening is a lot of us are finally talking about the value of overall certifications. Our Canadian friends are much better about requiring a national accreditation than the US is, but you know, Cedric Bryant, who actually lives here, he's the CEO of ACE, he and I talked about it, and it's more important than ever that those of us who offer programming, I'm not really a certification, I'm a programming specialist. I understand what programming and what patterns of movement are going to fill group fitness classes. What we say in every one of our certifications is, if you want a career in fitness, you need to be certified by an accredited organization, because most importantly, if you really love what you do, the only way to do it long term is to have that overhanging certification. So it's first, how can we sell it? Because yes, I'll tell you what, I taught a certification last week virtually to 22 people, and none of them had an overhanging certification, but a lot of them had experience. So to make the assumption that just because someone doesn't have a national accreditation that they don't have experience is wrong. They might have taught in a studio that didn't require it. But for us to continue to tell that story, to be the best bar instructor, you really need to understand the basics of human movement and the basics of first aid and all the things that we learn. So us educating and being willing to tell that story is
Okay,
important.
now I'm throwing this right at you. Then why the heck is the world staring at these influencers that are uncertified, and where is that going? I kind of get the sense that there's so many out there that people are beginning not to believe them. At least I hope they're beginning not to believe them.
Well, I hate to say this, and you said I could do this. Actually, you know, disagree that that most of the major influencers aren't certified. The people I follow on social media that have some of the strongest, you know, Kaisa, for example, is somebody who has one of the largest influences in exercise today and has her master's degree. There are people who pop on and who are running social media in a way that just draws the low hanging fruit. I want to lose weight. I want to lift weights. I'm going to do it in my home. There are people that speak to that audience that maybe don't have the accreditation. I think the issue is that our industry, I'm speaking of myself, the older portion of the industry, kind of like the taxi driver to the Uber driver, we're like, they don't know what they're talking about. They are blah, 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 as our customer just went right with them. So while I do think, yes, there are influencers who don't have the credentials, I think there's a lot of influencers who do. And the really smart influencers have moved onto platforms where you'll see them in your gym, where people are paying $99 a month to somebody who's a strength training specialist who's giving them 6 weeks worth of training. And I will tell you, the clients I see in our health clubs are doing very well with those influencers. So I would say our smartest move is to stop criticizing influencers and embrace them and find a way to work with them. You know, even when I did programming for IDEA 5 or 6 years ago, I brought in influencers who had the credentials and had the chops to do it, because I knew that they would draw the audience. So my suggestion is, let's work with them.
That's great, Trisha. I reach out to them, I don't get a response.
Because they don't take us seriously. This is the funniest thing. We don't take them seriously and they don't take us seriously. So when we reach out and say, do you want to speak at a conference for X amount of, you know, here's your speaking fee and all those things, they're like, well, why would I do that? I sell $99 for 6 weeks and I have 400 people paying me $99 for, they have figured out a mathematical equation that we haven't figured out. The thing is that we can, if we can figure out a way to show them the value of being in the education world and why they bring something to the table. But I'll tell you, there's been some influencers over the past year that I've watched come into the education world. Core Health and Fitness, one of your sponsors, just announced their new hires. 2 of them are people that I've put in front of them because I saw them as LA talent and they have the educational chops. They have the choreography development. I've seen them on camera. They're really good at what they do. So that's exciting. So I think it's just about how we find that relationship and how we make them feel valuable.
And Emma, I see you taking notes and I see you nodding. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I'm learning. I'm going to be controversial. So you brought it up, Tricia. There has been a business model shift, right? So if you've got a lot of followers, now let's just define what an influencer is. An influencer is someone who can get you to think differently, behave differently, spend money on shit you didn't think of spending before you spent it, actually shift your behavior. Now, to earn that right, there has to be some degree of trust and a compelling magnetism. So I think, well, first of all, I would say that the education, I believe, is in a revolution right now. So think about what happened, at least here in the US, when TikTok came down. All my kids went into mourning. This is their Harvard. This is their Harvard. I can be a gourmet chef by Monday. And literally, I'm learning from the best in the world at pace in the kitchen, and I could cook that by Monday. So we're in that, and we go, no, you've got to do this for 8 weeks or 3 years or 200 hours. And they're like, how about no? I don't have time for that. So we're in a revolution, especially with generational change. Now, we're all of a particular age, and we came through the old school. We've got to do the yards. I've got to do the weekends. I've got to put in my hours. I've got to teach 300 classes. I've got to, be mentored. Great. And they're going to go, why? And I don't really want to teach at 5 in the morning at your club either. So my wellness first. And if it doesn't fit me, it's not going to. So we've got to accept the times. And we've been trying not to work since the 1960s, and we've just added more and more work hours. The youth are like, screw that. I'm not working. You got to talk me into working. I want to work with my best friends. I never want to work before 9 o'clock. I want free time. I decide my lunch break, unlimited holidays. Let's go. So the world has changed, is my point. So I think that's happening. So, and we're very disparate. We're still going to our conventions because that was our school. All these brands do their own shit. They're not at any of that. They don't even know we exist. They don't belong to the associations. They're out there doing their Pilates class or doing their HIIT or doing their race. They're oblivious because their delivery into our world was different. They went somewhere local that was referred by a friend. They don't listen to your corporate bullshit. They ask their friends in chats that you and I have never heard about. And that's the new world. This is the new world. So there's that part of it. I would say influencers. So think about it. We had an election that was swayed by a podcast. We had Jake Paul, what the hell, beat Iron Mike Tyson. And it's all a financial deal. Think about it. That is the power of influencing. You've got influencers in your clubs right now. If you go to an HVLP, a low-cost club, 30% of the members are following someone on their phone, on your mat, in your gym. So they're in your gym, but they're just using it as a backdrop, but they're following someone else that they trust and like, right? So that's happening. So we're disparate. And then there's two ends of the market. You've got, I can get you ready to teach in a month, just follow this iPad, right? And that's happening right now. That's a model. Or you can be the gym instructor and I'm just going to hand you something, just follow it out. We've cued the music, just say a few things. And they're coming off, whatever. At the other end, you've got this deep mastery. You've got people they've found their thing and they're just really going for it. And that's driven by the top podcasters. We talked about Huberman before. You can now learn from Stanford professors. You can learn from Professor Scott Galloway for marketing. You can talk to Seth Godin. You can go to the top of whatever the vertical is now and learn from them. So you've got both ends of these markets, speed to competency, and how do I get the cutting edge by the brightest brain in the room. So you've got that all happening. And we're trying to find our way. And I think, I've probably just answered your question with a lot more questions, but we're changing times, right? That's my main point. Think differently. If it's not working, it's not working.
So I'm at a gym and I'm trying to schedule my programming. And I love what Sheldon said. You got to look at the strength. You got to integrate people. You got to make it more of a community atmosphere. Is that kind of what we're seeing? Or how do we bring these younger people in? Or is the concept, scary as it may seem, of traditional group exercise really declining and we all want to get it on a small box?
Well, if you take Sheldon's example, and he's done it, he's got full classes. And some of them will be young, some of them will be old. But if you put good strength training in, take TikTok. If I'm coming to your gym, give me the TikTok version of how I learn to squat. Don't sit there and force me to go through an 8-week course. Do what he's doing. Have the 15-minute trainers on the floor. Hey, we're going to teach you how to use, whatever, the Smith machine, the bench press, like whatever, arms, whatever. Here's the 5 killer exercises you need to know. That's a delivery discussion. It's not we're not educating. It's like we're all educating. It's the way we're educating. We're forcing them into an academic exercise when they just want to get in there and do the cool thing that they saw girls who lived on Instagram do, right? We got to shorten that and speak in their language.
Okay, and I got to throw this out. I love every single thing you said. I want to jump into your square and hug you. I have to go to my daughter's basketball game, but I'm going to say one more thing, which is on that same note, if I were in group fitness right now and I had young leaders in my facility, I would be teaching classes like Video Star. I would teach a TikTok dance. I would have classes on the schedule where you learn the latest TikTok dances. I would have an instructor who teaches a cardio dance class. I would just go for it. I wouldn't fight it. I would go for it. It doesn't have to be the highest intensity workout. I would not hold back. I would jump in both
It's
feet
pop
first.
culture.
Love
You're
it.
going with social pop culture. And what do we know about dance? You might not have your heart rate wherever it's whatever zone. What's the biggest mental health? Dance, move, do
And they're
circles,
moving.
move, express yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Trish
Okay.
is going to leave. She's got to go see her daughter kick some ass in, what is it, volleyball?
Basketball.
Basketball. Okay,
Yeah.
go get it. I want a
I
report.
appreciate all of you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Sorry I'm leaving.
All right, text me tonight. I want to know how she
And
does.
Sarah, if
I
I
will.
can
Yeah.
add to
Now,
what
Mo,
was just,
you,
what
yeah,
was
please.
just said, let's meet them where they're at. Meet the young influencers where they're at, as what has been said already, but also inspire them to create a career out of it. And that's where I believe strongly in the evidence shown about certification. Instead of, it's almost like, well, first you invest in a certification, then you can tell us if you actually want to teach it for a long period of time, which most people don't think they want to do it first. But let's help them, just similarly to what Emma, you said about how influencers operate. They really do get followers and enormous numbers of them to know, like, and trust them and buy shit that they don't even think they need, as you said. But that's the thing that we want them to do in our profession as well. Get them to know, like, and trust us as a profession, and then upgrade them to a certification to extend their knowledge base, to develop some specialization in skill sets so that they stand out. And that not only supports their futures, but it supports the future of the fitness industry. And without credibility as fitness professionals, we will never be seen and respected in the healthcare of any country that we work in, which is desperately needed today. So I strongly believe in certification, but we also have to think differently, do differently, and market differently to how we attract the new generations into our spaces to deliver what they're passionate about, and then help them see it as a long-term career.
And you know what's very interesting? I hope I'm allowed to say this. I think I'm allowed to say this. I'm on an ACSM committee. I've been on a committee for several years now, helping just on the communication committee, and they're building a brand new website. So I think I can say that because I think they've really been talking about it. It's phenomenal because they're trying to make it more interactive, easier, adopt the Amazon one-click mentality. And it's helping. And I see what you guys are saying. Sheldon, how do you find trainers for Universal, and where do you see this going as a career, and the Instagram and the certification dilemma kind of evolves?
Yeah, there's a few layers to this that I see. One, for a facility like ours, we require a certification just to be in the building and work with our members. So there's that. That's just the basic old school way of doing it. But in today's world, people who want to have a successful career or make money doing this, just like anything, you have to find a way to have multiple streams of income so you could support yourself over time. It's almost like an omni stream of residual or passive income. And it can't always come from counting reps and trading your time for money in a health club. You've got to be able to, tap into creating courses that people truly care about and answers the call for what they want. Or you have to be able to use social media or a platform that speaks to something that's riveting to where I must click in and check in and see what's being posted or shown today. And advertisers are willing to put their content next to yours, so they can co-market, or people subscribe to your content. It's just the way of the world today. It wasn't like that 15, 20 years ago. And we are finding more and more people who we aim to hire where universal is just one of 3-4 ways that they bring in income. So that is something that's going to continue to evolve over time. Not only that, now when it comes to certification, this is really important for everyone to understand. Like, being a great trainer and coach is one thing, but right now everything's about data. And it is your ability to take data from biometrics, wearable technology, AI generated content, and machines, and not just create the content, but take the content that our market already can get without needing you and make sense out of it for them. And then keep them accountable to it and help bring them into a community that makes sense for them. That is just like an entirely different way of going into this industry and having a futuristic sort of mindset on where this is actually going. You don't need to use me or anyone else to create to get the content. You have data that most people don't understand, and who is going to facilitate coaching them and helping them understand and make sense out of that from me. I'll give you a good example, right? Like, we've got folks at our facility who use our equipment, and it gives them this bio age. It says a bio age. It tells them their skeletal lean muscle mass. It tells them their visceral fat. It tells them the trends over time on where their ECW is going, extracellular water is. They have devices and rings that tell them what their HRV levels are, and it's like, how does a person make sense out of all this? This is where we as fitness professionals need to step in and say, let me aggregate this information and help you move forward in your career. And that does require a different level of education. There's a whole new market right now for people to teach fitness professionals how to take this information and make it sense for their client base. That is not being done enough at this moment. And right there is a tremendous opportunity to help upskill people who are in our industry. And so I guess I'm giving you a roundabout way of saying a certification in this industry is going to have a different face because of what technology is actually doing and how the data should be interpreted by our member base. Regardless of what's going on social media, people have access to content. How do we make sense out of it for them?
And you're spot on with this. Like, on it, we had 209 people register for this webinar, and we turn it into a podcast. We've had 48 people at the highest point show up live. They don't need to show up live. They're going to get it. They're going to listen to it. And I guarantee you, we will end up with 250 people that have actually listened in. So I don't think this webinar or / podcast has really provided us any solid answers, except it's opened us up to questions. So I can't thank all of you enough for coming. I'm going to show you guys real quickly what's going on with SCW, because we're very pleased and excited that we're able to share these things with you. Here is our latest conference that we're doing. It's DC Mania. We're also all ready for California Mania. The site's already up. It's the continuing education credits, the same presenters, etc. We've got these wonderful sessions that we're offering. We're at a beautiful hotel to make it easier. We have more and more businesses that are getting involved with the conferences, and we're so pleased that they're able to join us. I can't thank you guys enough for coming. Sheldon, you're fantastic. Trisha, good luck with your daughter in the basketball. I still think she should do volleyball as well. Mo Hagan, love you. Emma Berry, articulate as ever. You guys are fabulous. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for Daniela for putting up with all of us and getting this all together. And hopefully I'll see you guys at a mania near you soon. Happy New Year. And we send all our love to our friends in Los Angeles with the terrible fires going on. And please donate to the Red Cross like SCW has done. So take care, everybody, and have a great night and a happy new year.